This is Clarence Hill and Jeff Wilson. We just finished the Mike McCarthy introductory press conference as the ninth coach in Cowboys history. And it was a full day. It was about 48 minutes
Yeah.
of laughter, some tears. Mike McCarthy cried a little bit, welled up a little bit. Jerry Jones cries, he always does. But just from just initial impressions, from my initial impressions, and it looked like the Cowboys finally got a football coach.
Yeah, and one thing I was surprised about McCarthy is that when you watched his Green Bay press conferences, there wasn't a lot there. Maybe he was quiet too.
Mhm.
But the guy's got a sense of humor.
Yes.
He was cracking jokes.
Yes.
But now the football questions, he wasn't answering those.
Well, but that's what a
Yeah,
football coach does.
exactly,
He kept it close to
exactly,
the vest.
exactly.
Right.
But I think that if people were thinking they're getting a robot, and maybe they will from game to game, week to week, but this guy's got a sense of humor, and it seems like he knows, and that tells me a guy knows how to build relationships.
Right.
He knows how to rally troops. He knows how to get guys on his side. But he's an impressive guy. And,
Yeah.
and he said, "I'm a football coach."
Right. And it really felt like the dawning of a new day. We're talking about this is a new century, the start of a new not new century, but the start of a new decade here. And it felt like a dawning of a new day with the Cowboys, not just from getting a coach like Mike McCarthy, who's a football coach. He's going to make football important. But Jerry Jones and his enthusiasm, that was a breath of fresh air. I mean, the press conference was packed. I mean, with reporters, you had some players there, you had employees lining the rafters. It just felt like something new, something fresh was coming here to this Dallas Cowboys organization.
Well, you've been here for a long
time, right?
while.
Yes, and I've been to a few of these.
So you know far better than I do. But you're right, and It is different because as you were saying, Mike McCarthy's got a pedigree. He's bona fide. I mean, he's won a Super Bowl, and he has coached a storied franchise. The Packers. He's coming to another one. He knows what to expect. He knows how to block out the noise. But with him, he brings expectations. I think of greatness. It's not just lip service now. I mean, with Jason Garrett, Chan Gailey, Dave Campo, guys you mentioned who were unproven. Maybe Bill Parcells might have been different, and maybe that felt like this today. But you're right. This isn't some guy that just hired off the existing staff or promoted from an interim basis. This is a guy.
Yeah, and you talked about the expectations of greatness. One reason why they brought him here because he has been great before.
Sure.
He's won a title. He won a title in Green Bay. Won a title actually here at AT&T Stadium, the only Super Bowl at AT&T Stadium to let the Packers still win over the Steelers. He's had 8 straight playoff appearances. He's a proven successful coach. The Cowboys believe they have a team that can win. They wanted a proven guy who could come in here and take them back to glory. I mean, and he's been with a storied franchise. You talk about he's been with the Packers. He understands the expectations. He followed, in the offices of Lombardi. Now he's going behind Landry and Parcells and Johnson, so he knows what that's like.
Yeah.
And so I think those are all the things that made him attractive to the Cowboys.
Yeah, and Jerry said that. He's one of the first things he mentioned is that Mike McCarthy has been with a great, iconic franchise, and whoever the Cowboys, the last I checked, are still called America's team. So,
right.
And that was something that Mike himself mentioned. I mean, he said multiple times. He said, "Look, this is the Dallas Cowboys. You don't have to say anything more."
Right.
It sounds like if they had offered him the job and offered him half the money or half the years, he still would have taken it because of the prestige and the visibility that the franchise has. And I think that there's been from afar from the baseball beat, it seems like the Cowboys have had a willingness to spend money in the right places, invest in players that they feel like will take them into the future. They're good players. I think maybe I'm speaking incorrectly, but maybe the drafts have gotten a little bit better the last couple of years. So
Drafts have been better.
It seems like the Cowboys do have the pieces in place that you're talking about, and the missing piece was the head coach.
Yeah, and again, it's funny because it seemed like they both, obviously this is Mike McCarthy. As much as success he had in Green Bay, he did get fired. Right. So you're getting a motivated coach who's ready to make his legacy. But from the Cowboys' point of view, here's a guy that they need to bring in. We need a football coach, and the guy, the football coach, that was Jerry Jones' quote. He wasn't really trying to throw shade at Jason Garrett. Well, he did throw shade at Jason Garrett, but but he compared him to Troy Aikman like a number one pick. This is a guy we can build with. This is a guy
Yeah.
we can win with. And he compared it to going to get Troy Aikman. And, something, we talked about after the press conference. They spent 12 hours together on the interview. It was from, he got here at 1 or 2 o'clock, and it was after midnight, when they were still talking, and when they knew this is going to be our coach. And that night together, and Jerry said he hurt Bills is compared it to a marriage, a relationship. We're not, and I think that's important, because I think in the past, he's gotten in a situation, hired coaches. I don't know if he always respected the coaching position. We go back to when he fired Jimmy Johnson and made that statement about, I can get 100 or 500 coaches to do this job. And that tells me you don't think that coach is very important. You look at some of the hires, and he made some hires of convenience. He made some hires of necessity. But, did he make a hire that made him feel good and like, this is the one I want to, get in bed with, and he said he heard bells and he's ready to get in bed with Mike McCarthy.
Well, back to your Aikman point, that was the analogy Jerry used. I mean, he bought the team. The Cowboys had the first pick, and it was Troy Aikman. And what Jerry was trying to say was, these moments don't come along very often.
No.
And when you do, you take them. And then they had this opportunity to hire Mike McCarthy, who, sounds like has reflected heavily on what went wrong at the end of the Green Bay time. I think it's been documented on the NFL Network, the barn, and all the videotapes,
right,
and the other coaches he consulted. I mean, this is a guy who wants to be great. And I think when the head coach wants to be great, when there's that complacency, and when he has an idea of how to get there, and is motivated, like you said, to do so, I think that trickles down. I mean, the players can sense that, I think, and it just seems like it's a really good hire that hasn't been made here for a while.
Yeah, and another thing that just struck me was the Cowboys and Jerry Jones are going to allow him to be great. I know Jerry, they talked about it's going to be we decisions and we this, and we've always made we decisions, and then technically they have. But what's also true with Jerry is tried to force some coaches and some things down me. His coaches, even with Bill Parcells, we can talk about how Bill Parcells was strong and did all this. It was Jerry Jones who decided T.O. was going to be on the football team. Bill Parcells never wanted Terrell Owens on this football team.
Yeah.
He had to take Terrell Owens because Jerry Jones signed him. And in this situation, just from the fact that he's allowing Mike McCarthy to hire his coach, even though Jerry tried to say, I let all my coaches hire their coaches. That's not true. That has not been the case. That certainly was not the case with Jason Garrett. But if you look at how he's gone about the business, it was a whirlwind interview on Saturday night. Basically got the offer, and he accepted the job on Monday. Ever since then, he's been about the business of trying to rebuild his staff and assemble his staff. And it looked like, from the year away, he's had an idea of the guys he wanted, his dream staff he's wanted. And again, the important thing is Jerry's allowing him to hire his staff and not necessarily keep guys from Jason's staff that are still under contract.
Well, what about the Kellen Moore thing then?
Well, I mean, if Kellen Moore is here, then it's because Mike wants it.
Okay.
And again, there's nothing wrong with keeping Kellen or even Kitten because of their relationship with Dak. They have a good relationship with Dak. They've been a part of Dak's success. Mike McCarthy is also a quarterback guru. He's going to be part of it. He goes back to Joe Montana, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. He knows quarterbacks as well as anybody. He also has a system in place, a West Coast offense, that he's going to call a play. Kellen Moore is going to be here, and certainly he's a young guy, a silent boy guy you still want to invest with and invest in because of the success he had last year in his first year as a play caller. But Mike McCarthy's going to call plays. But outside of that, it looks like it's going to be a lot of new coaches, new faces to Dallas, but old coaches, veteran coaches that he's worked with, whether it's Mike Nolan, defense coordinator, Jim Foster, special team coach. Cowboys need to improve their special teams, one of the worst in the league. Jim Tomsula, defensive line coach, a former head coach, like Mark Nolan, the former head coach. He's bringing former head coaches, guys he's, had a relationship with from years back. It's going to be a veteran, experienced staff to go with Mike McCarthy.
How were things at the end between Jared and the players? Was there a disconnect there? Is it something that is going to be a challenge for McCarthy to get these guys to start pulling the same rope again? But I mean, if it's a veteran staff of experienced guys, then it sounds like it wouldn't be, maybe.
Well, the thing about it is the players play well, and they supported Jason. They played for Jason. They never quit on Jason. But the one reason why he stayed here for 9.5 years because the players, you never saw any blowout loss, never saw any give up in the player. They didn't always, I would say, play inspired for him. But for a group of players who went 8-8, who underachieved, who were they're disappointing play in their inability to not live up to expectations. The reason why Jason Garrett's gone, they have no say in this. They need to either get on board or get on. And I think that Mike McCarthy is going to be the one who helps them get on board or get on with this coaching staff. He's the right guy to do it.